This edge.
You're right there.
Second and 10 taken off, and on the run, he's got his man. He's got Myers. Myers gets walloped on the way down to the 21-yard line. It was Crosby again, who was in the backfield, breaking things up, busting things up, and they've got a punt again.
Home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Put On Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. POR SBR is my Twitter handle, and Ryan Holmes is RHOLM22. Don't forget to also check us out on Instagram at PutOnWaivers_podcast. And then don't forget, if you are watching the show on YouTube, don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, leave a comment, all those things like that. Ryan, how you doing today?
Doing good. It's cold, overcast, back to fall weather here up where I live here in Southern California. So it's good. It's good to get out of the heat, although it's coming next week, it looks like again.
Yeah. Let's keep it hot. Let's keep it hot. I like it hot. I was joking. I was thinking about our Eddie Murphy conversations the other day, and I was watching the latest Beverly Hills Cop on Netflix. Just the music just makes me smile. Like the
Yeah.
It's so
the third
good.
movie never happened. I will not recognize Beverly Hills Cop 3.
Yes. And they had Surge in this one too. I forgot about Surge. I was like, look at Surge in here.
Gotta get the limit twist going.
You gotta get it. Let's start off with some. I put some polls out there on my Twitter for Raider fans. So I put out one that said, what will the Raiders' record be after they play the Broncos, Panthers, and Browns? First one, well, I said 4-1. That was 39% of you feel like it's going to be. They'll be 4-1. 7% said 1-4. And then 3-2, majority, 53%. The 53.5% thinks the other Raiders will be 3-2 after they play those games. So that's probably the most logical of answers as well, too. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes.
7% think they're going to lose the next 3 games. Is that what you said?
7%. 7% said they're going to be 3 in a row. Listen. We've all been scorned as Raider fans. That's a little bleak for me. I mean, we're realists on this show, but like I don't think any of us think that they're gonna go. They lose. If they lost 3 straight, that would be devastating. Especially
those 3 teams that are coming up.
Yes, that would be
2 of the games are at home.
Yeah, that would be bad. And then we have some all 22. First one is let's see here. Let me pull up on my side too, so I can see it while I'm talking about it, and you're talking about it as well. And that would be Davante Adams with a big play over the middle.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is Gardner Minshew's best throw of the game. It's either this one or the one he threw on the sideline that Davante was able to toe tap in. But it's 2nd and 20. They're in a 3-by-1 formation. It's a bunch formation. So you have Turner, who's lined up as the number 2, who's at the point. Davante Adams is the number 1, and Jacoby Myers inside at the 3, and on the backside you have, I believe it was Michael Mayer. And they're going to man up on that backside. So essentially you have some version, it looks like maybe cover 3, could be cover 4 with manning up on Mayer. But this is a great design because what you have is you have Turner running the corner route. He's going to pull the first safety, the safety to the strong side of the formation. And then you have Myers, who's kind of running an over route that's going to pull that backside safety. You kind of see this thing open up where both safeties are vacated out there. There's no corner on the backside because he's running with Mayer on the shallow cross. And Davante Adams is running the dig route. And the best thing about this throw is Gardner Minshew throws this ball right before Davante Adams is coming out of his break. So snaps his head around, the throw's on target, and he's able to pick up some yards after the catch. That was a big play on 2nd and 20. I believe there was a sack on the play before this, if I'm remembering correctly. But to keep that Raiders drive alive, this was I want to say this was in the 3rd quarter, but best throw of the day by Gardner Minshew. You kind of see how the routes develop, and it's not a great window. He's got to fit this ball between both of those linebackers and get it up over them. But best throw of the day for Gardner Minshew. A good job there in trips formation and be able to get Devontae Adams wide open on that dig route.
Spillane has just been a surprise for myself and a lot of Raider fans. Kind of looked like a guy who's going to be a veteran who just kind of holds it down for a couple of seasons, and maybe the Raiders draft somebody, but he has been way more than that. Can you talk about his play?
Yeah, Robert Spillane's been better than advertised when he came over. There was a lot of questions about his coverage ability, and rightfully so. It wasn't very good as last year in Pittsburgh, but he's done everything and more that the Raiders have asked him of, especially in pass coverage. He's held up, but his run defense, his ability to diagnose and read and react and just attack downhill, and you see it on this clip. This is a good clip because you have Christian Wilkins, who's kind of lined up over the center and the guard there in the A gap. And he's actually going to cross the face of the guard and get to the B gap. And the center's trying to double before he goes up to get to Spillane. But by the time the center realizes he can't get to Wilkins, Spillane is already by him and in the backfield and just drops Justice Hill for a tackle for loss. So great job by Christian Wilkins to occupy those blockers, and an even better job by Robert Spillane to read the blocking scheme and understand that he has to get down through that A gap before the center has an opportunity to double team him.
So I can't. So okay, we all know how good Max Crosby is, and I'm sure that the staff in Baltimore knows how good Max Crosby is too. So on the Max Crosby play that we're going to talk about, is this play designed to have the running back get through the hole before Crosby gets there? Is there just a missed block? Was Crosby just shot out of a cannon and he just seen this on film? He just knew it immediately. How does this blow up in the Ravens' face so quickly?
Well, you see Max Crosby is kind of in a track stance down. He's down on a 3-point stance. When he sees, obviously, the guy go in motion, he notices something about the formation. And then immediately you see the tight end that's lined up over him down block. So there's really no one to block Max Crosby. That's the job of the left guard who's trying to pull and get to Crosby. Yeah. But by the time the left guard even takes a step that way, Crosby's already past him in the backfield. So, there's just no real way to block Max Crosby. If you leave him unblocked on the backside of these runs, this is what he does. He blows up run plays. And asking a guard to work that far over, because Max Crosby's actually lined up in the ABC. He's in the D gap. He's way out there. He's outside the tight end. Yeah. And it's really hard for the left guard to get all the way across that formation before Max Crosby just gets behind him. And that's not a small man he took down. He basically clotheslined Derrick Henry and immediately put him in the turf. So that has to be film study. Max Crosby has to know there's not some boot action coming off of that. He's got to know, hey, I've seen this. This is the play. They're going to hand it off. They're going to try to get the left guard to come get me. And there was no threat of Lamar Jackson here. So he just attacked downhill, and he just basically met the quarterback at the running back and took him down.
Yeah, that was some great work by Crosby. And Crosby also had, was he was defensive player of the week, correct? Or was I mistaken? Was he defensive player of the week?
Don't tell PFF, who didn't think he had a good game, but he was the AFC West. Yeah, sorry, the AFC defensive.
That's funny because later on when we do questions, we some fans had questions about PFF, but that is pretty comical as far as that goes. So the Raiders leave Baltimore, leave B-More, leave the Wire to come home to Vegas to face the Carolina Panthers, who have not played well. And their GM is Dan Morgan, their head coach is Dave Canales. This is a team that is in a rut, a big rut, in a rut so much that they went out in their first round quarterback they picked up. Bryce Young is now the backup holding the clipboard. Bryce Young, probably the first time. He was a very highly touted quarterback out of California, went to Alabama, and now holding the clipboard behind Andy Dalton. So where do if you're the Raiders, what do you feel like is going to be something that they have to worry about in this ball game? Because I think that I watched the Raider game and the Charger game last week at the same time, and I think that you might, how do you guard against a little bit of a jump in the spirit of the Panthers with a new quarterback coming into Vegas.
Well, I haven't watched the Panthers play this year a ton, but if your quarterback completes 18 passes for 84 yards, obviously they're not pushing the ball down the field. They're throwing a lot of stuff at or behind the line of scrimmage. I think that the one thing here is there's as bad as Carolina is, they do have some players that you have to take notice of. And I think the switch in quarterbacks to Andy Dalton is going to allow them to simplify things a little bit, but get the ball out. Andy Dalton's not going to stand back there and just take sack after sack after sack. So they're going to try to play quicker on offense. They're going to try to get the ball out quicker. He's going to be able to see a little bit more in the defenses than Bryce Young did. So the Raiders are going to have to be sound defensively on the back end because they do have some weapons on this team, believe it or not. You know, Deontay Johnson is over there from the Steelers. They took Xavier Legette. I believe he was the first pick of the second round. Adam Thielen's still a veteran. Jonathan Mingo's got some speed. Now these aren't household names, but these are guys that can go out and make plays.
Yep.
So this isn't as easy as they don't have, they're benching their quarterback, so this team isn't as good. This team might play a little bit better for a week or two on offense just because you have a quarterback in there that can understand defenses and get the ball out of his hands, and hopefully take advantage of some looks and push the ball down the field is probably what they're looking for. To me, it doesn't make a lot of sense in the big grand scheme of things. Like, you took Bryce Young number 1 overall over CJ Stroud. You fired his coach 11 weeks into this first season. You go hire Canales, who came over, obviously was in Seattle, and then he went to Tampa Bay. But you brought him over as kind of this quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, to get Bryce Young better, to grow Bryce Young. He's in a new system. And 2 weeks into the regime, he's like, I don't want – this guy's not my quarterback anymore. I want to go this other route. So, like, the whole thing doesn't make any sense. Like, you're the Carolina Panthers. You're not making the playoffs. And unless there's something going on behind the scenes and he's missing reads so badly that the coach doesn't want to lose the locker room by continuing to play him. This whole thing doesn't make sense. But they do have a decent offensive line over there. Chuba Hubbard is still a capable back. Obviously, again, these aren't household names, but the Raiders aren't going to just be able to roll their helmets out on the field and win this game going away. But I do think the Raiders defense will have moments and will be able to overpower this offense as long as they don't take them for granted and they go out there and they just play sound defensively. The Raiders should win this game fairly easily. But again, it could be a trap game. We've seen this many a times with the Raiders in the past. We'll pick the game later, obviously, in the show. But I wouldn't sleep on Andy Dalton. He's beaten the Raiders 4 straight times. Last time, obviously, with the Saints, he beat them 24-0. So they have to be ready for Andy Dalton. They have to put pressure on him. The good thing is they don't have to worry about him scrambling around and running. Like, he's a pretty stationary quarterback at 36, 37 years old. Get after him, rush the passer. It's going to be a completely different pass rush than it was last week. It's a different game plan. You're not playing Lamar Jackson where you kind of want to fence him in. I thought Patrick Graham had a great game plan last week against Lamar Jackson after looking at the all-22, but it's not as easy as, it's Andy Dalton. This should be a blowout game. Like, they have to be ready for a veteran quarterback back there.
I think that you mentioned something that I feel like kind of hit the nail on the head was, I think he, even though it is only week 2, watching him, there were like 3 plays that stood out. There was a play where Bryce Young dropped back to pass, and there are literally 3. He looks to his left, and there's 3 Chargers looking right at him. You cannot see the receiver, on the Panthers. You can't see him, and he still throws the ball into that coverage. And it's just like, I'm like, dude, like, it's not there. And then there was an over route run by Adam Thielen, and Adam Thielen isn't a demonstrative wide receiver. He's not a guy who's just going to be like, he's not going to write a book called "Throw Me the Ball" like Keyshawn Johnson, right? And he was so exasperated. He runs the over route and nobody's within 15 yards of him. And he's just like, everybody's just like frustrated with him. So just because I'm thinking just because he doesn't play right now doesn't mean like maybe his career is over with him. We'll see. It's week 2. Maybe he comes back a little bit later on in the season, but right now he just might need it because he's not seeing the field very well. And this game might be, they might score -7 points in this game if he plays. He's been like, after watching them, and I watch a little bit of all 22 because I was mostly doing Raiders all 22 and Trojans all 22 in Michigan. It's just not, it's awful. He's just been that bad. So we'll see if any Dalton does any better as well. The Raiders offense against this Panthers defense. The running game, we keep talking about it, but I mean, it's not, I mean, is it really going to improve right now currently? I mean, I think they do have a chance. I think AP said if he was a betting man, he'd bet that JPJ would play in this game. Fans were like, hitting us up on the show talking about, is he going to play center? Um, nope, they love Andre James. They love Andre James. But thoughts about his impact that could really help the running game going. You get a running game going.
I hope he starts. I don't know if he will. I don't know
Yeah.
how much contact they're doing in practice. I don't know how many padded practices they're doing right now. Obviously, Wednesday was a walkthrough. I want to see him physicality. Maybe he gets a series every other series. Maybe they rotate him. Maybe every third series. Maybe they give him an opportunity to get out there. But we need to see him. We need to see him in the run game. We need to see him be physical. They need to open up holes right now. I thought Cody Whitehair in the second half when he played against Baltimore was better than he was week one. It's still not great,
Yeah.
but Andres Pete was bad in the first half. So it
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me after looking at the all 22 that they went ahead and made that switch back to Whitehair. But I could see, Johnson playing every third series, or just to get him out there and get him his feet wet. I don't think they're going to run him out there. The good news is both the defensive tackles from Carolina are injured and banged up right now. I don't know if Shea Tuttle is going to play. Ashawn Robertson also shows up on injury report. They don't have much of a pass rush. So if the Raiders are going to run the football and Gardner Minshew is going to have time in the pocket, this is the week for the Raiders O-line to get healthy and get right. So we'll see. Jadeveon Clowney is over there, so he still has to be someone that could be a factor in the run game and apply a little bit of pressure. But the Raiders are going to have to run the football in this game and get it established.
Yeah.
Now, I'd prefer that they threw the ball a little bit earlier, get Bowers going, get Adams going, try to get a lead, and then run the football. Get a little bit of separation. What I don't want to see is them just to line up and just try to pound their head into the wall, and then it's not working. And before you know it, you get into the third quarter and the game's 6-3 or 9-6 or something like that. So throw the ball, get a lead, and then establish the run as the game goes on. And hopefully Zamir White can get going. AP did mention there could be some scheme changes. Zamir White's just not a very good outside zone runner, and it's something we talked about in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we see a little bit more power gap scheme with him, which they did do in the fourth quarter last week. Some of those runs towards the end of the game where you saw him ripping off 8, 9, 10-yard runs were mostly power runs. So you're pulling guards, you're creating holes, and he's just running to a designated area. He doesn't have to read defenders. So maybe that's more of what Zamir White's good at. So maybe they're going to have to mix that up. It is interesting that this whole offense is based around outside zone and doing those wheels and those boots and getting outside and stretch plays, and they may have to scrap some of that with Zamir White. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we see more Alexander Madison this week.
I was just going to say, get Madison in there then,
So maybe a little bit of Abdullah at times. Maybe they just, go running back by committee and get all three of them in there and see what goes. But we'll see. Like I said, I do want to see them. I don't want to see them abandon the pass for the first quarter and a half because they're trying to establish run, because they need to get up on this team and bury him. You can't let Carolina hang around with a veteran quarterback now with Andy Dalton. This team's ripe for the picking. They're giving out points in bunches. So the Raiders need to come out, continue what they did in the second half last week, and that's a feature 89-17. It's what we've always been talking about on the show for the first 2 weeks of the season. Those are your best two players. Brock Bowers is damn near unguardable right now, and he's in his third week in the NFL. You turn on the tape, the dude's open every play. The 4th and 2 ball that they threw down the sideline, Devontae Adams is great. It's a slot fade. You're giving your guy a chance one-on-one. Brock Bowers is standing in the middle of the field with no one within 5 yards. when you turn the L-22 on. So get those guys going and then get the run game going. So we'll see what happens. But they do have some decent corners over there. J.C. Horn is still a good player out of South Carolina. I would attack the safeties. I would attack Josie Jewell, the middle linebacker. If you can get matchups where you can get Brock Bowers or even a slot receiver on Josie Jewell, who we know in his time in Denver, the Raiders can feast. And they're on him. He's not a very good player in coverage. So, Shaq Thompson, undersized guy, but he's athletic. He can run. I would try to avoid that if I could. But there are a lot of pieces on this defense for the Raiders to take advantage of. But it's going to come down to, like you said, the offensive line. If the offensive line doesn't show up, you can't do some of that stuff. And Luke Getsy, bless his heart, like the first half, you turn on the film and it's literally horizontal, screen pass, 1 yard. And then when they finally needed to throw the ball down the field, and they started calling plays to push the ball down the field, then you saw Gardner Minshew come alive. The offensive line played a little bit better. So I know a lot of people are talking about all these changes and adjustments he made. That may have just been a result of they had to because they were down 10. He may go back to being the Luke Getsy we saw for the first 6 quarters of this season to start this game, where it's run the ball and try to avoid turnovers and throw it at the line of scrimmage. I have no idea what to expect out of Luke Getsy this week. Hopefully it's more of what we saw in the fourth quarter against the Ravens.
I mean, don't think too hard. Don't think too hard, brother. I mean, you got 17 out there, you got the 89 out there. I mean, like, just don't think too hard. Go get those guys at football, and then you can come up with formations to get everybody to get the running game going. If it's going to be, you can stay with your zone stuff if it's Madison in the game, and then if you want to run the football with a little bit of power, you can do it with Zamir White to try to get him going. Derek Brown is on IR for the Panthers as well too. He's one of their best defensive players. So just a lot of area for the Raiders to move the football. And I'm totally with you. Like, let's get up 17-3, 17-0, 21-0, and let these defensive linemen go eat. And I want to see some people, more people at the Thanksgiving sack table besides 98. Like they need.
There's only one guy there right now.
Yeah, there's only one guy right there eating. He's eating all the food right now, and like we got the guys on that defensive line who need to be able to do that, and that's like the Raiders' defense against the Panthers' offense. I mean, they are playing in a defense that they're comfortable with. They know Patrick Graham very well. Patrick Graham is a guy who knows what he's running with this team. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they attack it. Do you just come after them, and put yourself in a position where you might give up a big play, or you just play your stuff, and then let that front four go get the quarterback.
I'm not coming after Andy Dalton the first quarter. I want to see if they can block my front four. Can they block Crosby and Wilkins and Butler? And it looks like Tyree Wilson's going to be up this week. Janoris Robinson. Can they block those guys before I start bringing the house? Because the last thing you want to do is start bringing in extra rushers, and then you don't have the numbers and coverage, and they're giving up big explosive plays to Carolina. You want Carolina to have to string together 10, 12, 14 plays to score in this game. You don't want to make anything easy for them. That's what I would do. And then the good thing with Patrick Graham is we saw week 1, he was very aggressive early coming after Justin Herbert because they weren't worried about the guys outside. And then we saw when you turn on the film against the Ravens, it's a little bit different. They're playing zone, a lot of cover 4, a lot of quarters. And on third down, you saw them come after him a little bit, but it was kind of a fence rush where guys had lane assignments and gap integrity, and they kind of slow down to kind of build a fence around the offensive line. So there was nowhere for Lamar Jackson to go and then make him beat you with his arm, which was good to see. There was a couple where, like, if it was any other quarterback than Lamar, Trayvon Merritt could have had a sack. I think Nate Hobbs came free on another blitz. Max Crosby, you didn't see those guys getting upfield and trying to turn the corner. They're going to do that this week. So if you got to pick and choose those opportunities, I think Jack Jones can be a little bit more aggressive on the outside this week, and obviously Bennett and Hobbs. I think the DBs have to step up here, and they just can't let Andy Dalton throw the ball down the field. Like I said, play those umbrella coverages, cover 4, cover 3, make them throw the ball underneath, rally and tackle, and this team's not going to be able to put together enough plays to continuously go down the field and score. But the Raiders need to get a lead in this game and make them one-dimensional.
I think the worst case scenario is the Raiders, a quick turnover by the Raiders to get down 10-0, and you're chasing points here. I mean, as bad as a team is in the Carolina Panthers, if they probably look at the Raiders as one of their only games that they can try to win too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they have to, like, you gotta look at their point of view as well. They don't want to go they probably don't want to go 0-17. So when the season started, they probably thought maybe they could win this game. The Raiders have to kind of shut the door really early in this ball game. I have definitely confidence in Patrick Graham doing the right thing defensively. I just feel like if you are a offensive coordinator in today's game, I mean, like, and you got those kind of weapons, I would definitely go ahead and do that. If you're Getsy, go ahead and score as many points as possible in this game and spam those two great weapons, and it'll open up everything to everybody. It'll open for everything for everybody else.
Yeah, I think what they need to do too, and I know they talked a lot about 12 personnel. This team is probably at its best when it's an 11 personnel right now, when you can put Myers, Tucker, Adams, and Bowers out there and move Bowers around. This team's not nearly as explosive or as good when they go 11 personnel with Mayer or 12 personnel with both Mayer and Bowers out there. As much as I love Mayer, use him a little bit less, use Bowers a lot more, and throw the football and spread these guys around, because the Ravens are trying to cover Brock Bowers with defensive backs and they couldn't do it. And until someone figures out how to cover him, until they start trying to double him or bring extra brackets over to his side, they're not going to do that right now because of Devontae. Over the course of the season, you're going to start to see some of the coverages go that way as well. But until that happens, just eat on that one-on-one right now. And then I'd like to see Tucker get some balls in this game. Obviously, Jacoby Myers could have a big game. So wherever J.C. Horn goes, throw to the other guy, and wherever Brock Bowers is, throw it to him.
Yeah.
And just get the lead going. But I'd like to see this team be a little bit more 11 personnel this week until they get a big lead, and then you can go 12 personnel and try to run the football.
Yeah, don't be stubborn. This is not, keep the main thing, and the main thing is just getting those two guys the football on offense. As far as that is, I guess prediction time. Who do you think is gonna win this game, and what's the score looking like? The Raiders are 5.5-point favorites. I think it went down since Andy Dalton's been installed as a starter.
Yeah, the point spread was 7, and as soon as they made this switch to Andy Dalton, went to 5.5. So a lot of money coming in on Carolina. Whether they believe that's because of Dalton or they believe that's because they don't think the Raiders are a touchdown better than the Panthers, but at the end of the day, more money was coming in there on the Panthers when it was at 7. The over-under went up from like 37.5 to 41.5. So now bettors in Vegas think there's going to be more points scored. I tend to think the Raiders are going to win this one pretty easily. I think this is a different regime. I think this team plays hard for Antonio Pierce. This team has been dominated the first half of the first 2 games against some very good offenses. And now they're not facing a good offense. So they need to come out and dominate this team just like they did the good teams there at home. It's going to be electric. The Panthers aren't going to have a ton of fans there. I can't imagine a lot of Panthers fans are shelling out money to fly across the country to watch their team get mollywopped, hopefully at Allegiant Field. So I would expect 95% Raider fans. I will be in attendance. So hopefully they win. Hopefully I don't have to relive the Arizona Cardinals game from a couple of years ago that Dwayne doesn't let me forget about when they were up 20-0. Hopefully by halftime I can go refill my Diet Coke, get a slice of pizza at Pizza Rock, and just kick my feet up for the second half. But I think the Raiders are going to put their foot down and show that they're the better team. And I fully expect them to win. I think they're going to win pretty easily, 27-10.
Yeah, we'll see that. So I'm going to go with a lot of the same reasons you said. I'm going to go 33 to 10 in this game. I feel like, I want to see them get this game out of hand. I want to see them do what the Cardinals did to the Rams last week. You know what I mean? Like, this is a nice way to get ready to play a really physical opponent in the Cleveland Browns the next week, is to not to play 2.5 quarters, like with your stars, like not to have your guys out there like in the fourth quarter slugging it out, trying to save or trying to come back in a game against the Carolina Panthers. So hopefully the Raiders can go ahead and, like you said, mollywop their opponent here in the Carolina Panthers. I'm like I said, 33-10. I think they win that game going away. First question people want to know is, can DJ Glaze play guard? Because they're good. Because they
Can
want
he? Probably. Is he going
probably
to? No. Like,
no.
he's your swing tackle. He's got to be ready to go if there's an injury to Miller or Mumford. He's only trained at right tackle in the
Yeah.
preseason for the most part. He's a rookie. I love how Raider fans, and we're all Raider fans, but like we just assume these rookies are all dudes and they're going to be Hall of Fame,
They're
Pro Bowl,
dogs. They're
All
dogs.
Pro,
They're all
all of them. Like,
dogs. All
play
dogs.
them
All
now.
dogs.
And
Yeah.
then like we look down the line 2 years later and we realize that they weren't very good. So I'm not saying DJ Glaze is not going to be good, but let's slow the hype train a little bit on some of these rookies that we like to do every year. And just leave him where he is right now as a swing tackle. And then if something happens to Miller or Mumford, then he's going to play. But for now, Parham's fine at right guard. The goal obviously is to get Jackson Powers Johnson up playing left guard, and then DJ Glaze is not going to find a lot of snaps. Hopefully he doesn't play a lot this year because that means Mumford and Miller are playing well and they both stay healthy.
Yeah. To Tommy Ockenberg, people was asking about him as far as like who's gonna kind of jump in here for Diablo. Diablo has not been great, so we know Diablo's not been great. I don't know if like I said, another situation where we want to just throw a rookie in. I don't necessarily think they're gonna do that. I think if they're gonna have a veteran come in, Masterson or whoever come in and take that spot. I know you want to see somebody new, but I think they got to be sure that the person knows that they have a lot of experience in the defense and they're not going to make a bunch of egregious mistakes that cost the Raiders. So I would say you're looking for 59 Luke Masterson to kind of step in that role since Diablo's hurt.
Yeah, Diablo's on the injury report. I still think he's going to play, but I think he's going to rotate. You saw a lot of that last week. Masterson ate into a snap count last week, so I think you're going to continue to see that. You're going to see those guys rotate. Eichenberg is Spillane's backup. I think he's third on the list if you're talking about someone that could play next to Spillane. But what you also saw is the Raiders played Isaiah Palomar a ton last week and kind of the big nickel, or he was playing a dime linebacker. So there was a lot of times there was Spillane and Palomar out there with the rest of the guys with Hobbs and Bennett and the two safeties, then obviously Jones. So if it gets into a game where the other team's going to have to throw and they get down by a lot of points, you could see that defense out there too. Where Polamalu, you don't know where he's going to line up. He could line up in the slot. He was guarding tight ends a lot last week, and there was a lot of packages where he was playing the deep middle in a safety role when they went three deep safeties. So I think all of that would happen before you saw Tommy Eichenberg playing opposite Spillane.
I'm reading all these questions without people's names. Leave a name. Leave whatever your stuff is on the text line. Why he wants to know about the running back situation. If Masterson fits, why not just play Masterson? I'm sorry, Madison, because he's saying, why are we changing the entire scheme of an offense for Zamir White when it's not like Zamir White is Eric Dickerson? His exact words. Like, it's like he's not a great back, so why just give Matt if Matterson fits the offense, just run the offense with Madison.
I'm not sure he fits the offense either, to be honest with you. And we talked about that in the preseason that I don't think either one of these guys is a great outside zone fit. So there's belief in Zamir White from Antonio Pierce. He showed last year down the stretch that he can be a capable starting running back. The Raiders are not going to throw in the towel 2 weeks in. The offensive line has been brutal in run blocking. So if we get to the point where the offensive line's on point and he's just missing hole after hole after hole and not breaking tackles, then we can have that conversation. But right now, they're trying to get Zamir White going. And once he gets going, like he did towards the end of last year, then we won't have these conversations. He's going to have to improve his reading. He's going to have to be able to read the defense and make cuts and get his foot in the ground and get north and south. But at the same time, the offensive line is going to have to open up some holes as well. Madison is kind of that complementary, share back where you're going to play him with someone else. Like, he's not a lead back. You're not going to turn around and hand the ball off to Alexander Madison 20 times in a game and expect him to stand in there and pass blocking. I will give Zamir White credit for this. His pass pro last week was really good. He was stepping up in holes, taking on blitzers. So if he's doing that, he's going to stay on the field, especially on third down and passing downs.
In the AFC, there are, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams who are 2-0. Who is the best 2-0 team? I'm gonna
say the Chiefs, and until someone beats them, they still have the best quarterback. They still have some pretty good weapons on that offense, and now they're getting Worthy going. Rashid Rice looks like a lot better player this year than he was last year. They still have Travis Kelce, who needs to get going. That defense is still good. So until someone goes in there and knocks them off, they're the best team in the AFC.
Yeah, and then they have that 12th man who comes in with the yellow laundry to help them out every time. Oh yeah, I said it. Look, if you look at these 0-2 teams, who would be the 0-2 team in the AFC that you would think, you wouldn't be surprised to see down the road in the playoffs here? You got the Bengals, Ravens, Broncos, Jacksonville, and Tennessee. I think we probably would both be leaning towards the AFC North here for either the Ravens or the Bengals, because I don't know if I have faith in one of those teams. I probably would go Ravens. I think the Ravens are not too far off, and I'm not sure how much I trust Justin Fields in the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm going to go the other route. I'm going to say the Bengals. The Bengals went on the road. They should have won that game against Kansas City last week. They had that game won. We haven't really seen a healthy Jamar Chase yet. They're getting T. Higgins back this week. They still have Joe Burrow. They still have a really good pass rush with Trey Hendrickson. They still have some good linebackers on that team. So Baltimore, to me, like, Derrick Henry hasn't gotten going. The offensive line is still a big question mark for me. I don't think this Baltimore defense is as good as the defense they've had in the past. I still question their pass rush, although they dominated the Raiders' offensive line at times last week. I don't love the corners. Marlon Humphrey's getting up there in age. I don't think Brandon Stevens is a shutdown guy by any stretch of the imagination. And the young linebacker Simpson was kind of all over the place last week. They still have Roquan Smith. So I have enough questions about the overall defensive unit and the offensive line. And Derrick Henry's getting up there, and we'll see what happens over the course of the season. But I would take the Bengals over the Ravens personally.
I think so too. I like the Ravens. We'll see what happens. I just think Harbaugh's always, John Harbaugh's always in the mix for the playoffs. So I'm gonna go right with that. But that was a big collapse, big loss for them last week to the Raiders. So some interesting games coming up here. Some teams are fighting for their playoff lives coming up here as well. The Texans are
Baltimore Dallas is a big game this week.
That's a huge game. That's a really big game. That's a huge, because they go 0-3. Ooh, that's gonna be tough. That's gonna be tough for Lamar to swallow. All right, Ray Nation, have a good Sunday. The Raiders should be in. For those who go into the game, like my podcast partner, go out and have a good time.
Hopefully it's a fun drive back Sunday night, because it's going to take me 6 or 7 hours. I hate to drive back with an L to the Panthers. So
it's gonna be
just win, baby.
What loss was that? Where like it was so bad I had to call you. So I think I was in Vegas and you were home, but I forgot what loss it was. But we were screaming and yelling on the phone. It was funny. I remember, but it was
the McDaniel's era. It could have been any game.
Oh yeah, it's probably McDaniel's era. Yeah, of course it was. The Raiders. I mean, listen, the place should be packed. The Raider fans should be pumped. You got a older star in Devontae who's still tearing it up, and you also got a young guy in Brock Bowers who's doing his thing. Max Crosby is banged up, but he will always play and always give you everything he has, and always be in the opponent's backfield. So should be fun. This is the big test of a young coach to you get a big victory, you come home. Now you should be able to take care of business and be able to live with prosperity here for the Raiders. All right, Raider Nation, take care. See you, Ryan.
Take care.